Gearing up for week 3 here at the Stafford Motor Speedway after Bonssa Tufa, a very wild opening Friday night. We are standing at probably the most eventful part of last Friday night here in turn number 3 in all of our divisions. We'll begin with the Napa Springs Sizzler, which seemed tame compared to some of the other events. Ron Silk, we knew going in he was going to be strong, and he did just that, picking up his second consecutive win.
It wasn't the easiest because in the late restart, he fell back to 8th after getting caught up behind a couple cars that he was faster than. But he still made his way through the field relatively easy and dominated the event, led over 80 laps. Again, won over $30,000. The amount of money he's won in the 2 Spring Sizzlers and the Fall Final back in 2022, that 16 team is locked in. Everybody knows they're so tough to beat. Nobody has an answer yet. A lot of attrition during the race, a lot of cautions in the first half. It got settled in the second half, and when it got settled, it was Silk who was best.
And there were some tempers that flared in turn 1 midway through the event.
There was tempers throughout the night, but it did start in the Spring Sizzler, a wreck in turn 1 with Corey DiMatteo and Matt Galco. That's short track racing. It happens, high emotions, and it's only week 3.
Let's continue our look back with the street stocks. Last lap chaos off of turn number 4. That sent Travis Downey to victory lane for the first time this season.
And he entered the white flag lap in 3rd because Travis Hydar and Ryan Waterman were going at it. Hydar gave Waterman a bit of a shot in turn 1. Waterman slid up the track, took the lead, and then going into 3, Waterman got behind Hydar, tried to give him a tap. It turned out to be more than a tap. Hydar went around, Waterman went around, and Travis Downey just idly goes by, goes 3rd to 1st for his 5th career street stock victory. A wild finish, a big win for Downey and that 42 team. They had a lot of bad luck at the beginning of last year. This year, they start with a 2nd and a 1st.
Could be fun to watch Travis Hydar and Ryan Waterman deep in the championship standings. I say deep, deeper than they're used to with a 10th and a 13th place finish last week. They have a little bit of a hole to climb out of here.
But they have a heck of a rivalry that continues to develop week by week. We saw it last year between those two, but this year even higher than that, and we're just getting started.
In the limited late models, a new winner to this season, Devin Jensick. A caution-free race, probably the tamest event of the night.
Yes, it was. And kind of a surprise considering the week before, he was not that great. He finished 8th in the feature in the season opener, came back, got the lead from Rich Hammond. That got a little physical coming off of turn 4, but in the end, Jensick held off both Jeremy Lavoie and Matt Clement for a much-needed victory. Him and that family, not much luck last year, off to a much better start this season. Jeremy Lavoie, quietly consistent as always, finishes 2nd. Matt Clement backs up a win with a 3rd. Hammond finished 4th last week. Better than the first week when he had mechanical issues. Paradise finished 5th, not quite the car he was looking for, but it's still a top 5. He has that streak of top 5 finishes. We'll see if those two or Jensick or somebody else has anything for the 6 and 59.
In the SK Light Modifieds, they were able to complete their first event of the season after being range shortened, and they'll resume that race this Friday night here at the Speedway. But race 1 in the books and a very familiar name on top.
Tyler Chapman started 14th in the feature, made his way through the field, took home the victory. He has won 3 in a row. He won the last 2 of 2023, and he wins the first event of 2024. At least that was completed. So a good win for that 41 team. A wild race. The first 10 laps, we saw Matt Brewer, Tyler Alkis, Nick Hovey, Ron Midford Jr. go at it. And then Matt Brewer got caught up with a lapped car, led to a wreck that eventually involved Meg Fuller, who had a huge hit coming off of turn 4. But she'll be starting 2nd in that resumption feature this Friday. She was running 2nd when the caution came out in the first event of the year when the rains came. So we'll see if that 2-car can recover nicely and get a good run. Hovey had a great run, missed a shift on one of the last restarts while leading. That cost him a chance at victory. And then you got Alex Pearl, who was running top 5, got spun on the last lap, fell all the way back. He'll be up front for the resumption feature on Friday. Jason Chapman got penalized for the contact. He looks to recover this Friday in a better way. Nick Anglaise went 36th to 9th in that feature. He's going to be further back for the resumption race, but he's got a lot of motivation after what happened last year and a really fast car.
That resumption race will begin with 12 laps to go. That's when the rains came a couple of weeks ago. The SK Lights will also have a quick turnaround because they're going to run their normally scheduled 20-lap feature this Friday night as well. Let's talk about the late models for a moment. We talk about turn 3, and we see a lot of marks on the wall behind us.
Yep.
Most of those marks coming from that 30-lap late model feature on last Friday night, beginning on lap 1.
Yeah, a big wreck on the first lap that involved about 6 or 7 cars, namely Alex Fern and Tom Fern and PJ Zarrell. They probably had the worst damage in that whole situation, but Duran was involved, Verrecchio was involved. Somehow, Kevin Gambacorta, the championship winner last year, got through the wreck, and we'll talk about him in a moment. But yeah, big wreck on lap 1, and then later on, Daryl Keene has a mechanical snafu, drops a ton of fluid, and it piles up 4 more in turn 3, and the biggest mark you see there was probably from Keene because he hit that wall a ton. Wayne Corey Jr. was involved in the wreck, Al Saunders' car was tore up, Chris Buffoni's car was tore up. Just a rough night for the late models, and the first lap was because of contact. The most recent one, the second one, was because of a mechanical issue. In the end, Kevin Gambacorta and Cliff Saunders were going at it in the last few laps. Gambacorta got under Saunders, coming off of 4, made the pass with a couple laps to go to take down the victory. You can't really call it a bounce back. He did spin the first week, but he still finished 3rd, and now he gets the win week 2. So a good start for that 23 team in their championship defense.
All of that, we never even mentioned Adam Gray.
Oh, yeah, Adam Gray. Man, it's just been a rough start for that team. Had the big wreck in turn 2 on week 1 and then got the car put back together only to break in practice. Issue with the motor, could not make the feature. And then we talked about what happened on Monday with the Wild Thing car. His son, Jacob Gray, had an incident as well. I don't know what's going on with the Gray family in terms of how their luck has gotten so bad, but it's got to change at some point, right?
You would think.
Yes.
And hopefully it's week number 4 here coming up this coming Friday night for the Gray family, because it has been a rough start for both generations, both on the big track and on the mini mile here over the last couple of weeks. SK Modifieds. What a race. That's all I can say. One of the best races that we have seen from that division in a long time.
From start to finish, I mean, there was not really a break in the battle for the lead. Christopher and Hodgson went side by side for the first 3-4 laps. Then it was Christopher and Rocco. Then it was Christopher and DiMatteo, a common denominator. Christopher, he was fast all night. But in the end, DiMatteo made the winning pass with 6 laps to go, held on the final restart, trying to hold off both Bassett and Christopher to take his 6th career SK Modified win. We knew that team was going to be really good this year. They went 2nd in points last season. They have a lot of motivation to get that title, and they're off to a good start. A top 10 week 1 after pitting, and then a win in week 2. Mike Christopher Jr., keep an eye on that 82. I know the first week didn't go the way they wanted, but they were up front for most of that event, and they were up front for most of this event as well.
And the way week 1 went for the top 2 competitors, they both struggled in week number 2, talking about Troy Talman and Marcello Refrano.
Yeah, Refrano spun on the backstretch, finished 13th. The car wasn't heavily damaged or anything. It was just a minor spin through the grass. Talman had a vibration, had to pit, fell 3 laps down, I think. He fell multiple laps down, made them all back, and still finished 17th. So they still made the most of what was a rough situation at the halfway point. But we still got a long ways to go, and this field looks really tight. We didn't even talk about Todd Owen. He finished 4th, top 10 streak up to 36 consecutive races. But Steven Chapman had another top 10. Andrew Moeller had back-to-back top 5s. Like, there's a lot of good cars out there, and we're just getting started.
We guess there's probably 18 or so that could win in any given night, so that's how competitive the SKs are. Right now, we do it all over again this Friday night here at the Stafford Motor Speedway for our 5 weekly divisions. The SK Lights will have a feature and a half to wrap up their rain-shortened event back 2 weeks ago, part of Napa Spring Sizzler Weekend. All the action here at the racetrack gets underway just after 6 o'clock, and like always, if you can't be here, you can tune in live on Flow Racing.